This is when every student in the room puts on their, mutes their video, right?
Yes.
I don't blame you.
All right, the recording has started.
Okay, so here's my first slide. And the question is, what even is an applied arts degree? And maybe you've thought that yourself, because it is an applied Bachelor of Arts. It's not just a Bachelor of Arts. So what is that? And how is that different than an arts degree, which we're all familiar with? It's got some things in common and then some things that are really significantly different. And what's in common with it is, like all arts degrees, the applied arts degree includes critical academic study. And like all of them, I think from my experience teaching in arts, the best thing about doing an arts degree is that you have that opportunity to challenge yourself and to ask the really, really big questions and to identify the most important issues in your community. And I think that's what makes an arts degree amazing. And I think that doesn't necessarily happen in the same way in other types of degrees, because you're just introduced to all sorts of critical theory and ideas and ways to think about the world differently than you did before you started studying arts. So it still continues to do that. But unlike any other arts degree, what I think is so cool about an applied arts degree is that now it takes all that critical thought and those theories that you've been learning and thinking about and sort of looking at the world differently with, and now it's going to give you the skills and the experience to answer the questions that you've been forming and to address the issues that you've been identifying in your community. And for me, that's the most fantastic thing about an applied arts degree. As an art student myself, I was a lit major, so I was studying literature, which I love and loved and continue to love. But at a certain point, I moved to studying language and understanding the way language worked in the world. So became more applied in a way for me, and it was really life-changing for me because I could start to see the world, not just see the world differently, but see how I could make change in the world. And I think art students always want to do that. They have that inclination. But in the past, people have always asked that question, well, what can you do with an arts degree? And I think a lot of parents worry about that. And now that I'm a parent myself, I do worry about that. I was saying just when you were all in the waiting room that I'm so sick of my children. I just need them to move out already. And one of whom is studying, at university right now. But I do worry about what are they going to do with an arts degree. And so the good thing about an applied arts degree is that it answers that question. It gives you the big thoughts, the big ideas, but it's going to give you the skills to do something about it, to solve those problems and to answer those questions. And that's what makes it so different and so meaningful, I think, for the times that we live in. So here are the key sort of quick summary. I don't know how many of you have had a chance to look on the website at the different the requirements. We can go in more detail into the requirements later on, but just a bit of a snapshot here. It's a 4-year degree, like any other BA. It gives you training in applied research and program evaluation, which is, I think, quite unique, again, for a 4-year degree. It's critical academic study like we're used to in an arts degree, but it's linked to real world issues in a way that we're not used to. So the way I've talk about it in sometimes to people is that it's not just a new degree, it's a wholly new type of degree. And I think that's what makes it important. So it focuses on studies in cultural diversity, including regional First Nations language and culture. It meets the local, regional, and provincial labor market needs. And a part of the development of the degree and the requirement that the ministry set for its approval was we needed to do a lot of research in the community to ensure and to show that graduates would find work, that there would be jobs for them of the kind that we said there would be. And so we reached out to pretty much every community organization in the vicinity and had them on board and consulted with them. So I think that's important because especially in the Okanagan, a lot of people want to stay here. You don't all want to move away to Vancouver where you can't afford it anyhow. And so I think you can trust that kind of that work that's been done on the labor market needs. And for those that are interested, there's at the end of it, there is an important direct entry to the UBCO Master of Social Work at the end of it, if you want. So going on next. The courses, for me, like it's a kind of dream selection. It's all the best courses. I shouldn't say that because there's some that aren't in it, and then people will say, "What? Are we not the best?" But truly, the most interesting sort of combination of liberal arts and social science courses, and so it's really multidisciplinary. The ones that I've listed are not the only ones. These are just the ones that there's quite a kind of a focus on. So social work is a big focus of the degree, but it's not a social work degree. It can lead to social work, but it is not in itself a social work degree. And for those of you, I'm sure there's some here who have done social work courses, you know that social work courses are about more than just how to be a social worker. They're about ideas and about community. GSWS, Gender, Sexuality, and Women's Studies courses, sociology, also a major part of the degree. Psychology, there's probably as many psych courses as there are social work, a whole range, all 4 years. Indigenous studies, philosophy, and political science. And throughout all of it, there are applied research skills built into the courses throughout the program. So you're learning as you go all the way along. It's not sort of an add-on at the end. It's part of what you're doing. And studies in critical thinking, logic, professional ethics, the sorts of things that and the writing courses. These are the sorts of things people would always talk about arts when they would ask that question, well, what could you do with an arts degree? And they would say, you develop all these transferable skills, right? These are what they're talking about, critical thinking, logic, writing. But now you're still developing the so-called transferable skills, but we're telling you how to use them now in an applied setting. So I think it's a super exciting, sort of group of courses there. So the big part of what makes it an applied degree is the applied study. So in the last fourth year of the degree, third and fourth year, you do a significant field experience with a local organization, community organization, and then tied to that field experience is a capstone project, which you work on in your final year. And so you can get a sense of just how significant the field experience and the capstone project are. It's 15 credits, so that's 5 courses altogether. So it's quite a lot. And I think the really cool thing about it for students is it's faculty supervised, of course, but it's a sort of collaborative outcome. So what you end up doing in your field experience and for your capstone project is whatever speaks to you the most, what matters to you the most. That's what you're going to work on. So what will happen in the field experience, and we get a lot of questions about the field experience. Well, is that a practicum? Is it a co-op? And it's neither of those. It's applied field experience. You get credits for it. And you work with a community organization and a faculty member to develop research that they need done for their organization. So most community organizations don't have enough people to do any kind of significant sort of research work for them, problem solving. And you will, by the time you're in fourth year, you'll have those skills to do that. And you'll work with the community organization of your choice and the faculty member who's in the discipline that feels like the best fit for you, and you'll do a project for and with that community organization. So you won't be going to work for that community organization. You're not going to. Is there anyone here, say from the HSW program? Anybody? Maybe, maybe not. Well, so in the yeah, okay. Hi, Stephanie. So in HSW, for example, the Human Service Worker program, which is a 2-year diploma, students do a practicum where they'll work, say, and Stephanie, correct me if I get this wrong, please. They might work, say, at the women's shelter, right? And they'll work with the clients of the women's shelter directly on the floor, getting to know the workings of the organization and developing those relationships, building those relationships. In this degree, if you've identified that's what matters to me is what's happening with women and children in our community, then you might again work for the women's shelter, but you're not on the floor, on the ground. You're working on sort of a bigger, you get to take a bigger look at it and solve a bigger problem. So you still have the relational aspect of it as you would have in HSW, but not in the same way. You're not necessarily connecting on a daily sort of basis with the clients of the women's shelter. You'd be working on bigger issues and trying to solve bigger problems for them that they would not normally be able to do themselves. I don't know. Does that make sense to you, Stephanie? Since you know you've had that experience, I'm hoping she'll answer. And if she says no, I'm just going to switch slides because I have nothing. Yes, it does, she says. Okay. Okay, thank you. But I think, what I love about it, about the capstone and the field experience, is the opportunity to really focus in on what matters most to you and what you want to work on the most. And I think here, I should say, so the degree, you can only complete the courses in the degree in Kelowna, especially at the 3rd and 4th year. As most of our programs, there are courses available at the 1st and 2nd year on other campuses, but to finish, it has to be in Kelowna. But if you end up, say you're a Salmon Arm student, you can take your field experience and your capstone project to a community organization in Revelstoke or Salmon Arm or Sicamous, wherever you come from. And I think that's great as well, because community is such a big part of the program, obviously, but it's also for people who take this program, it's a big part of what matters to them and what has shaped them. All right, so yeah. So the employment opportunities, what makes it different, what answers to questions, what can you do with the arts degree? With an applied arts degree, you will have employable skills. I think you'll have pretty wicked skills, actually, because there's so much through the program, and especially in the field placement in the capstone project. You'll have competencies in academic and professional writing, in both qualitative and quantitative analysis, critical thinking skills, ethics, program evaluation. You'll have multidisciplinary worldviews, which matters so much nowadays, that you're not just narrowed in on one discipline. And you'll have a language other than English. You'll have an Indigenous language, a tiny bit of an Indigenous language would be amazing. And then you'll use your coursework and your field experience when you're done to seek occupations such as program administrators in a community organization or managers, analysts in social service agencies or nonprofit organizations, community groups, and various levels of government. So wherever you feel a place for you is where you'll end up working. I, I always say the worst thing. I always talk about, I won't do it because people at the college will get mad at me, but I always talk about some students are very uncomfortable, and you may be feeling a little discomfort too. The answer here is not super clear. I can't say to you at the end of this 4-year degree, you're going to be this, right? You're not going to be one thing. There's a lot, it's very open, and that can feel a little uncomfortable. You can't say, I'm going to be a physiotherapist or a dental hygienist or a nurse. And so for me, that's exciting because I like the idea of having something that will give me um, just options, all kinds of options, and all kinds of sort of growth through my career life. Um, and sometimes a program that's very narrow doesn't give you that same growth through your career life. I've been very lucky myself to have a really diverse career, and I think that's what this will lead to for students who graduate from this program, because you'll be prepared to work in so many different areas and so many different types of organizations, and addressing so many different issues. You could be advocating for youth or women or families, minorities, cultural diversity, but maybe what matters most to you is the environment. And we have, of course, people who take science degrees end up as environmentalists, but also people who are social policy researchers in the environment. Um, um, I was just talking, has anyone, you can put in the chat, I was talking with Anne McKinnon today. She's a prof in GSWS. Has anyone taken a class with Anne? And she's just one of the smartest people I know. And she was talking about her daughter today. And her daughter has a philosophy degree, and she has an arts degree, and she's working in environmental issues and human rights. So it's the same kind of thing, it's so wide open, which maybe makes you a little uncomfortable, but maybe that discomfort is also kind of exciting, I think. All right, next slide. And this is the partnership with UBC, UBC Okanagan. And this is a very big thing, actually. It doesn't happen. There's transfer arrangements all over the place, but to have this kind of partnership is a big thing. If you are in fact interested in social work, you are eligible for direct admission upon graduation to the MSW at UBCO, the 2-year foundational. And what they will do is they will allocate 15 spaces to admit students without application directly in. And they're taking, of those, 5 spaces for students who are members of an Aboriginal group and identify as First Nation, Métis, Inuit, or Indigenous. So it's a pretty great relationship, I think, that we've built with UBCO over the years, and I think this is evidence of that. Students have asked me over the last couple of weeks whether or not would you be eligible for other types of graduate work finishing this degree? And I spoke with Rob Huxtable, the dean, and we had a conversation about it. And we think, yes, you would be. We do see the degree as rigorous, and we think that the quality will be there. We hope that the students will want that as well, that you'll want to come out of it feeling like that was bloody hard, but you feel really good about that accomplishment. I think most of the students I know, that's what they want. And so while the degree won't have a reputation immediately, obviously, we think that you will have the research skills um, and the disciplinary skills to be able to transition and apply to other master's programs in the province or beyond. I think the we were talking, Rob and I were talking about the field experience, the capstone project, and we see it as equivalent to if you were an honors thesis. So, say you were doing a sociology or a psych BA at UBC. Um, I think it could be if you focus your capstone project and your field experience in that discipline, it will be equivalent to an honors thesis, which is really important for acceptance into graduate school. So if you're interested in unsure, I think they're really around that. Um, yeah, feel free to email me about that, and we can talk more. Um, yeah, our admission requirements are higher than they've ever been. Um, grade 12 grad, including 70% in English 12, which for I don't think is a big deal for most English arts students. The 50% in pre-calc 12 or principles of math 12 is probably where most people are like groaning, um, feeling a little nervous. But we do have for applicants, if you're a new applicant, if you don't meet this requirement, in particular the math, because I think most will meet the English, we do have adult upgrading here, and we have plans for conditional admissions. So if you have, say, the English but not the math, you can take courses in the degree. You're admitted as a degree student, but you can take the upgrading at the same time that you're taking degree courses. So you don't lose out on it in that way. You don't lose any time. Students who are existing OC students who are transferring from their current programs, we've worked out a system of sort of equivalent OC courses. So if you're one of the students who is thinking of transferring and you've clicked that link to do the transfer, if you don't have what you need, it's going to end up being sent back to me. So we'll meet and talk through what we'll do for you and how we'll sort that out. But I think I don't know. I mean, I'm a little worried about the math because as you know, I too am not a fan of math. And it's been a long time since I did math, I have to say, in high school. Um, but I think you guys are smart enough. I really do. And I think sometimes we choose not to do math because we think what we don't have to and why bother. You don't, it's not your interest, so you just put it aside. But I mean, I've taught a lot of art students, and I know them to be the smartest students on campus, so I'm not worried about you at all. Uh, I'm moving on to my very last slide, which basically says, this is who I am. And I don't know if you can read my email. It's just my first initial last name. And if you're an OC student, you would have gotten an email from me last week. So, but otherwise, that's all I have. And maybe I'll just close my PowerPoint and do people have questions? Yeah. Okay. I'm going to close my PowerPoint. I'm going to stop sharing is what I'm going to do. I'm just learning all this. Okay, there y'all are. It would be great to see some faces. Yeah, Tess, I know your names, right? Because I've emailed some of you. Tessa, I know we've emailed. And Shayla, have we emailed? I feel like we have. Kira, I feel like we've emailed. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I know you. Well, so there must be questions left. History, Taylor's asking about history. Yeah, I think there is history, but not a lot in the program. Not a lot at all. Um, Levi? Yeah? Where are you? Right in front of me. Um, That's a good question, whether it would be good for going into law. I don't know. I don't know. I would like to find that out for you. I'd have to really look and see what the requirements are for law. The only law program I'm familiar with um, is like an undergraduate law program at McGill. Um, but I don't know about law as a graduate program. But I can look at that if you're interested. Yes?
I have a question. When would you like be able to like register for this course? Like when are you going to be able to like have it up and going?
For the degree? We're going to launch in the fall, but this summer you can take, this is important. I haven't really made this clear. It's not a cohort. So you don't go through, your whole 4 years with the same group of students. So in any given class, there'll be, say in a social work class, there'll be crim students or Associate of Arts students or, um, people who want to go into social work. So you can start in the summer, you could start taking classes, and especially for some students who want to get a little bit ahead, who are currently here, and you want to sort of fill in some of the first and second year, that you can do that in the summer. And um, um, I think the thing is, what we'll find for the first little while anyhow is that students will be taking classes at, first, second, and third year sort of simultaneously. Because they might not have a first year class, but they've got the prereqs for a third year class in a different discipline. And that's expected, I think. Does that answer your question, Shayla?
Kind of, yeah. I have some more questions as well. How much will this like course cost?
How
Have you
much
guys figured that out yet?
it's per course, just like this, it's the same tuition as the Associate of Arts.
Okay, cool. And
So
then I have another
it's not
question
like
too.
a single pay. No, it's okay. It's not a single lump sum. It's just you pay by credit. Yeah.
And then I have another course too. So like you were talking about like the English and then like the pre-cal and like the math and stuff in order to get in. If you're already taking a course in Okanagan College, will you have to like upgrade, or because you're already accepted in the course, like other courses, and you're like transferring to go do the course, are you gonna have to like upgrade, or like, because my question is I don't have pre-cal math, like I don't have any math 12. So because I'm already in like psychology course right now with you guys, am I gonna have to like go back and do a pre-cal 12, or because I'm already in Okanagan College, it's already like a pass? Like I'm just confused.
Yeah, it is confusing. We do have a couple of courses that if students have taken and achieved a 55% on, we'll count that as the math. And so those sorts of questions, come back to me one-on-one, or even an advisor. Advisors know as well what those are. So I think it's Psych 270 is one, but also Stats 121. And that Stats course is offered in this summer. So as much as that would ruin your summer, you could pick it up in the summer, right? But there is also upgrading, Shayla, depending upon how far back you need to go to get there. But we're really dealing with those as kind of individual, and we're just working with students individually. Yeah? Okay. Other questions? I saw some, I'm sure. No questions? Really?
I have another one.
Oh, thank God for Shayla.
Woo! Also, like, how many people in the fall you said it's gonna happen? Like, what's the number of people in the course?
It's an
Like
open program. It's an open program, so we will take as many as apply. Yeah, and meet
Okay,
the
cool. So there's no like certain cutoff.
No, not at all. No, you'll be fine.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sharon, it's Tanya here.
Hi, Tanya.
Everyone, just so you know, I'm a recruiter, and I think somebody asked about the tuition for the program,
Sorry.
right?
You cut out a little bit there, Tanya.
Did somebody ask about the tuition for the program?
Yeah.
Okay, so the grand tuition, if you were to take a full course load each semester, for year one anyways, is going to be $4,467 in and around there.
For 5 courses. Yeah.
Yeah. If a full course load is considered 5 courses a semester, for those of you that aren't aware, and you can apply right now. Either Denise or I can put in the chat the link to go and apply.
Yeah.
If you're interested. The program fills the admission requirements that Sharon spoke of. That's all you need. This isn't a ranked program.
Yeah.
So as long as you have those minimum requirements we set out, you're in. It is filling on a first come, first served basis. So the advantage of applying earlier is that you get invited in the summer months to register for the courses that you need earlier. Right? So keep that in mind, because there's always students, we might be accepting applications right up to the end of August, but you run the risk of some of the courses you need being full already.
Yeah.
I hope that all makes sense.
Yeah, it's true. Depending upon what, like if you're in first year, there'll be multiple sections of courses, generally speaking. But there'll be, as Tanya says, they can fill up. But if you're in a program right now at the college and you're transferring and you'll be taking third year courses right away, most of those will be single sections, just because we haven't offered them before. I'm looking at a question from Livia about whether it would be good for education. Are you talking about becoming a teacher, Livia? Yes, okay. That is a good question and one I've been asked a lot. And my answer is I don't think so. Because I think both, elementary and secondary teaching have pretty specific requirements that you need to have, like a teachable major and a teachable minor. I think there's been some changes to that, but I think the basics still apply. And then at the elementary level, you have to have, sort of a general education. This might be too specialized for that, but maybe I would ask Danushi and Tanya if I'm wrong. Feel free to correct me.
Yeah, so each school will have like different prerequisite courses for their BED program. So UBC and UBCO actually, I think they have different entry requirements because the programs are actually set up differently at each campus. SFU is going to have different entry requirements than UBC. So it's important that you're checking now, like what courses you're needing, because you'll need like a Canadian history, like Sharon said, you'll need a teachable subject. So I do recommend, looking at those entry requirements at each of the schools and seeing whether or not that and comparing it to this outline and seeing whether or not this will hit all those requirements, because sometimes it might be better to take the Associate of Arts to hit all those entry requirements.
Yeah, if you're not sure, really just reach out to me or to Danushi or Tanya or to an advisor. And yeah. Okay. Other questions?
Yep. Sorry, I have a question.
Hi, Nick.
Hi. Sorry, I think I was emailing with you earlier.
You were.
I'm looking at the credits because I've done 2 full years, and I was actually looking to transfer to the education program. So,
Yeah.
but what I want to do is not necessarily teach. I want to work in education, and I'm wondering with the credits, like say the first year it says 24 credits, but you need 30 credits. So then it's plus 6. Is that 6 any elective I want? Like, can I use my previous credits that I have, right? Like, because I've taken earth science and astronomy, and I've taken the math and stuff, university math already. Can I use those as elective credits towards this program so that I'm not double taking so many things, like my psychology, perception, vision and perception? Can I use that as an elective, or am I going to have to choose from the little bank of electives you guys have given at the bottom?
you'll probably have to choose from the bank. So the one thing about the degree is it's really prescribed. While there's a wide range of courses, it is prescribed, which courses you take. And there aren't a lot of electives. And so it is, I totally get it. If you've already got your 2 years, the thought of having to go back and take more is not a great thing to think about. But it might be worth, looking and seeing which of your courses line up with the degree requirements. Someone asked if it was you, Nikki, tell me, I've already told you this, but I would say for some students, this is not going to be the degree for them because they've already got their 2 years and they really want to be, a teacher, say a history teacher or something like that is very clear. But the degree really, I think the sorts of students who will take it at least initially are the ones who it really seems like what they've been looking for. And so it'll be okay that they have to retake, because the person I was talking to, maybe it was you, Nikki, it was like I know a lot of people really do want to stay at OC for the degree. They just think that'd be so much nicer than having to go somewhere else. But it might not be enough to stay at the college for it if it doesn't really meet
it aligns with like my goals, because like I said, you have to have an education degree to work within education. But if you don't want to be a teacher, say like for me right now, I work in education, I work in like youth advocacy, right? But I need further education to move up further in that. So I work with like behavior intervention and things like that. And they want the education degree. But this would also work because you could work for like art programs, right? Like, so you could work as like a clinician and things like that. And so you're still working in the education system, but you're not working necessarily with the school district, right? You're working with one of the programs that's a joint program with the school district and with art programs or school district and child and youth mental health, right? So you're that's why but for me, it's like at 44 to go back and now retake another year would be a lot, would be a lot. Yeah. So it's like hard to like, I don't know, to weigh it out, because this is actually probably a lot of the stuff I'm quite passionate about. Like the courses I have and have been like geared towards like gender studies and anthropology, cultural anthropology and that sort of stuff. But and like the math, I did like math 160. Would that qualify as the math that I would need for because I graduated over 25 years ago?
I totally, you know what, when you say you're 44, I know exactly how you feel and what you're talking about, because I started my undergraduate when I was 31. And towards the end of it, in my last year, a friend of mine said he had met this prof and there was a course and I should take it. And I was like, no, I am registered, I'm settled, I have the best schedule, I am not changing. And he was like, you have to. And I was like, no, I'm thoroughly uninterested, I'm almost done. And then I changed, and it really, truly changed everything for me. So it really was a kind of like upsetting choice I made. Turned out for me to be the right choice. But I know the struggle. I know how hard it is.
That's exactly. I feel like this is great, but then I'm like, oh, like I know.
And that's how I was like, don't even talk to me.
One step back to take 3 ahead at some point, So that's where I guess that's my struggle with it.
Well, you should talk to me, email me, and we can look at your struggle together.
Oh yeah, maybe I think I probably just need to have maybe my transcript looked at too to see.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Part-time, absolutely. Where's Kelly? Yes. Oh yeah, absolutely part-time. Yeah, it's not a cohort and you work at your own pace, and and in the, things are not decided yet in terms of what's going to happen next year with COVID. But it's likely there'll be at least some online, and online through the summer, which is not great, but at least if you're living elsewhere, it can be good. And if it helps you, if you're working, it can be good. But yeah, part-time. Yeah.
I have another question. So this new program, is this like an applied bachelor's And then what's the difference between applied bachelor's and a regular bachelor's degree?
Well, the applied bachelor, it really prepares you for employment. So it gives you employable skills, where a bachelor's degree is not explicit about what sort of work you can do, and it doesn't teach you applied skills. It leaves you with sort of transferable skills, and that's the problem for so many art students. Is then they're like, what do I do now, right? They don't know what to do, and understandable, because it's complicated, right? It's hard to find work, and yeah. So this is about applying what you're learning, and making it really clear to you what sort of employment you'll be qualified for. It's in a way, it's sort of like this. It's the best example, the best comparison is like a business degree, right? We have the Bachelor of Business Admin here at the college, and students there a lot of students choose the business program because it's applied, and it gives them some sense that they'll find work at the end of it and meaningful employment. And so this is like that, only without capitalism. So that's good, right?
Are they both like the same amount? Are they both 4 years?
They are, yeah. Other questions?
Sharon, I have a question for you. Hi, this is Bill. I wanted to ask if you guys have any comparable programs within the region or within Canada that is maybe related to this applied bachelor's.
I don't, that's the thing about it. It really truly is a wholly new type of degree. I don't think there are any in the region. In arts, like a BBA is applied, right? A business program. Or, if you're at UBC and you're doing, say, physiotherapy or something, that's applied. But for arts, I don't think there are any in the region. And there are very few in the province. It might even be just sort of a new category in British Columbia. I'm not sure, but there's very few. I think there's something at UFV, University of the Fraser Valley, in communications. But there were very few examples for us when we were in the early days looking at what was happening in the province. Very few examples. Yeah.
What was the process to obtain that type of designation? Was it you mentioned?
It was brutal. It was brutal. It really, truly was brutal. It was many years spent on the development for just of the courses and the curriculum, and but the consultation with community members, with other educational institutions, and we had actually the craziest thing occurred. We had a panel come, an external panel of academics from other institutions had to come and review it. The proposal that was written was like, I don't know, like 500 pages with appendices. And even after that was reviewed, the panel had to come. And the craziest thing was, on that panel was a cousin of mine that I had not seen since I was 20. It was wild. And so anyhow, she, passed it. And yeah, and then, so there's a whole process that the government requires. Yeah.
Is that open for public review? I'm curious.
Oh, no, just, no, not really.
Okay.
No. Yeah. What if you wanted to transfer to UBC Vancouver? The partnership for the social work program is for UBC Okanagan. But if you were looking to do graduate studies in another discipline at UBC Vancouver, I would imagine you'd have a pretty good chance if you had a good record. I would think that. Does that answer your question, Levi? Yes. Okay, good. Some people are really quiet. Is this what it's like in classes? My God, you must go crazy. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, I mean, I'm so done with COVID and with February. And it's just, it can be over now, right? It's hard, eh? It'll be over.
I just had like a quick question. So I
Sure.
graduated with my applied degree in
Yeah.
last June. Then I got accepted into this program, and I've already taken 2 of the required 3 for the 3-year classes.
Yep.
But is there like a way to look at the required like first and second year classes?
Yeah, it's all online. So,
Okay.
yeah, you can, if you go to the website and look under programs, you'll find it. It
Okay.
lists program requirements. Yeah, it's all there. And if you have a hard time, Janu, she's putting it there. And if you have a hard time or if you have questions about them, again, just email someone.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, Anybody else?
Oh, I have a question again.
Yeah.
Do you think if after graduating this program, I can transfer to a master UBC, not necessarily social work, but any other one?
Well, you can't try, you can't try, I don't think you meant this, but you can't transfer, you have to apply into all master's programs except for the Master of Social Work at UBC for, with the arrangement that we have. But we do think that if you were, say, wanting to go and do psych or sociology or women's studies at UBC Vancouver, having completed this degree and if you have done well in it, obviously you need to have good grades. We think it will hold up. We do. We think it's a rigorous degree, and there's enough work in the capstone project that would feel, we think, like an honors project. I can't promise that or guarantee that, but we think that's how we feel about it. Anybody else? I just noticed that Mickey's here. Mickey Materi, is that how you pronounce your name, Mickey? She's gonna answer.
Yes.
Mickey, yes, Mickey was one of part of the community members that we consulted with. Do you want to talk about that, Mickey? Put you on the spot there.
Yeah, we have the spot. So, well, first of all, just certainly from my perspective, I work at the Archway Society for Domestic Peace, which used to be called the Vernon Women's Transition Society. I also used to run the Kelowna Women's Resource Center. And when I heard about this degree, I thought, not only do I feel that it is of great benefit to our organization, but I actually want to take the course myself because I found it very exciting. And certainly, it's one of those areas where in terms of looking at research, and we're just going through a program evaluation process now, and it's some of that work that we don't have time to do, and so it's always good. So even if one couldn't find a position within an organization, I could certainly see there would be an opportunity for as a consultant in the field as well, for sure. And I can't turn my video on. It's for some reason not working for me. Otherwise,
that's okay. I just want to say Mickey's a bit of a superstar in the field regionally. It's true.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, same back. Can I just, Luke, can I put you on the spot? Because there's always there's so few guys studying arts, and so do you have questions? No. Okay.
Not really, no. It's all fairly straightforward seeming, so.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, glad you're here anyhow. You gotta have at least 1 or 2 guys in every class, otherwise, All right. Is that it? Is that all we have, or anybody going once?
Sharon, I'm not sure if you're able to answer this. I wanted to loop back to the question I had earlier about the program development itself. I'm just curious on how it was determined to be applied Bachelor of Arts versus, let's say, applied Bachelor of Science. What's the difference? How was that determined?
Well, well, because our portfolio is arts and foundational programs, and it's not that we don't like science. We just, we don't have anything to do with it if we don't have to. So I think you can do an applied Bachelor of Science, but I'm not sure. And the applied part is a provincial issue, a ministry initiative that we have to develop degrees that are applied. So that people are able to seek employment, meaningful employment at the end of them. Yeah. So that's how that started.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. There's a lot of uncertainty. It feels like uncertainty. Shayla, where are you? Maybe she's gone. Are you still here, Shayla? No. Yeah, I don't know that there's uncertainty. I think, I think a lot. It's also one thing you learn in an arts degree is to just always consider different, perspectives. It's a new degree, and so we can't answer it unequivocally, and we probably will never answer it unequivocally in one single way. And so that might make you feel a little nervous, but I think that's the nature of an arts degree. This is about as certain as any arts degree can be in terms of clarity for employment at the end. Well, should we all say goodbye? It was fun to talk to you. Thank you. And Charity asked a question about applied arts include technology. No, technology is in our science, technology, and health portfolio. That would be like